Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back to your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Quant Network, aka QNT. So with that being said, I hope that you are all having a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are out there in the world. So back in the summertime, I was really researching all of the companies, the organizations, the big names jumping into this space. And if you guys do remember, early on in 2023, the big narrative from BlackRock was, guess what? We're focusing on tokenization. Now, at the same time that BlackRock was focusing on tokenization, a lot of organizations like the DTCC were also looking into it. The significance of that is the amount of money behind some of these names. The post that I put out back in the summer was, let's take a second and think about some of the organizations embracing blockchain and DLT. The DTCC is settling $2.4 quadrillion worth of securities per year. Swift, global network comprised of 11,000 plus banks and financial institutions, even credit card companies as well. The BIS, central bank of central banks, account for 95% of the global GDP. The ISDA, organization focused on global derivatives markets to make them safer and more efficient, $600 trillion notional value. Then, of course, you have Wall Street, right? The big players. BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, three companies that own everything with a combined total of over $20 trillion in assets under management. All the major banks, guys, they're all talking about how disruptive this technology is. They are all ready to utilize it when the time is right. Then you have the FSB with the IMF, the BIS, and the G20 all working on global crypto regulations. Everything is already in place, and it's moving faster than anyone really thinks. Now, with all of that information, I said the next 10 years will be forged through this technology. Digitalization is nearly in full effect, and everything of value will start to be tokenized. These things take time, but once things start to really move, they won't slow down. The fourth industrial revolution has already started. Once regulations are in place, all the games stop. And yes, when we really look at Quant and QNT, guys, I've always said it in the past, and I will continue to say it. Quant, QNT, it is a long-term hold. The way that I look at Quant is it's investing into technology that is going to transcend almost any major disruption in the past. And I say that this is the same exact thing with XRP and other projects within the space. The underlying technology stack is what you are really investing in. When it comes to Quant, guys, I do think that Quant is going to be extremely valuable. And the reason why is because of tokenization and because of the adoption coming from these big players. I've talked about it in the past, right? $867 trillion was the original predicted amount by the World Economic Forum back in 2021 from tokenization. I think now that is completely different. But this is going to be a change that is going to reshape the next decade of our lives and multiple decades after that. Everything is going to change from tokenization. And I don't think people realize how big of a change this really is. But let's talk about a few things. Let's talk about where Quant stands at this disruptive. So there was a great post that got put out by Lambos or Food Stamps, which, by the way, great name. Most blockchain companies only can do one of these. Overledger allows you interoperability and flexibility. And here we can actually see the full breakdown of it, right? You have bridge operators, token paths, network types, connection types, and even operation mechanism. And you can see how all of this is connected. Overledger really is the all-in-one platform that can connect the real world to this new world of everything. I mean, when you go and look at Hedera, for an example, right? Because we've talked about a lot of these projects for so damn long on this channel. When we look at Hedera, they are really engaged heavily with enterprises. They just announced a GC, a new GC member, that is a direct connection to the retail sector. And we're talking about, guys, this is like one of the biggest companies out there around food and beverage products. The connections here to the real world are already here. They're already being forged through a lot of these partnerships. But the problem is that it's not just going to be a one-chain future. It's going to be a multi-chain future. all of this needs to be able to be interoperable, right? Overledger is allowing that. Now, the reason why I say this is I saw that ISO 2022 Let's Do It actually quoted this post, and he said, tokenization won't be the future if there is no interoperability. And this is 100% important to understand, especially if you hold QNT, right? Because I feel as though everyone is investing into QNT thinking that it's going to be massive overnight. That's not the case. And even in the past, I've constantly said that we are here positioning ourselves at the forefront of the very, very significant change that is going on behind the scenes. And that change is the fact that you have all of these big banks jumping in. You have all of them launching services. You have, the IMF, the World Economic Forum, the BIS, all of these global organizations. They're all talking about tokenization. They're all talking about interoperability. They're talking about CBDCs, stable coins, all of these things that, guess what? They don't become real unless you have interoperability. JP Morgan Coin, HSBC Orion, Citi Token Service, UBS Tokenize, the list of institutional tokenization products goes on, whilst they all perform certain functions for their creators. Now, all of these tokenization products are built for its own specifications, and without standardization for all their wonders, they cannot communicate with each other. And so JPM Coin cannot allow a non-JP Morgan customer who conducts business with JP Morgan customers to settle payments instantly, and so Citi Token Service can only serve its own customers, yet the true magic of tokenization lies in its ability to conduct instant value exchange on a global scale without borders. And that is where interoperability really stands at the forefront of this. That's where Quant is also at. And also over here, we have interoperability and the prioritization of standardization to enhance cross-border transactions and leveraging ISO 2022 data and AI. And this is actually for MasterCard. Listen closely.
Payment systems with a real focus of opening access to as many participants as possible to drive innovation and competition, but also interoperability. But continuing, which is very important in our mind, is safety and security, resilience, and also scalability, because we're seeing transaction volumes grow, and being able to keep up with that capability is very important. We will see that in enhancing our cross-border interoperability to make it seamless transactions to customers so they can see predictability will be a very big key one. Opening our systems, which I just briefly mentioned, around bringing in as many participants as we possibly can, reducing those barriers of entry, and then overlay services, really using the ISO 20022 data, and also looking at how we can use AI and the advancements of AI to help that. Navigating those priorities during 2024 will be critical.
All right, well, thank you very much for bringing us up to date. You've highlighted some significant developments there, and cross-border interoperability. I know that's one of your hot topics and one we've discussed in the past, EBA Day. Yes. So let's talk more on that then. What's changed since we last spoke to you about that?
So since EBA Day, we spoke a lot about the challenges, the legal frameworks, the technical standards, governance that needs to be across those, plus some of the technical capability that's required. We've seen bilateral agreements between Singapore and Malaysia come out to the industry, also with Hong Kong and Thailand. But the real focus with interoperability across cross-border payments will be really standardizing those legal frameworks, the capability that we bring to the market from a MasterCard perspective, because we operate in those spaces around the technical, operational procedures that you would need, but also giving the transparency and predictability of cross-border transactions. So to the customer on the street, it's seamless. We've aligned ourselves to the G20 roadmap, and we continue to focus on the MasterCard with the 13 markets that we operate in today. We think we can really help set those legal frameworks, move towards standardizing that cross-border capability and making the customer on the street have a seamless cross-border transaction. We're also looking at it from a directory.
Now, on the second slide here, you have this discussion continued. But remember, focus on the overall solution benefits from tapping into interoperability, because that's where all of the value lies when it comes to Overledger.
capability and making the customer on the street have a seamless cross-border transaction. We're also looking at it from a directory perspective as well, the capability to allow directories to talk to each other that would not normally be able to speak to each other. That is a great capability that we're seeing lots of demand in the industry about, because that is a common problem to every customer on the street.
Sure. So you've highlighted the priorities there. I'm assuming they're just as important to tackle as each other. And what's your forecast there?
So, look, my forecast is interoperability will be the key. The standardizing how scheme operators and payment systems talk to each other will be the key opportunity in 2024. I also see that if we bring in the other two priorities that we were just talking about, you'll start to see that overlay services and the value-added services will become very key in driving down fraud and providing data to operators, customers to be able to stop illicit transactions, stop account takeovers. If we just talk about open access really quickly, one of the things is it's really costly and complex to be part of a real-time payment system. Bringing down those barriers, opening up to participants, to a number of different types of participants, not just bank entities, gives more competition and it drives innovation. We're starved of innovation in the industry around what we can bring to the customer on the street, that it just streamlines those payments.
All right, thank you, Paul. And you've touched on what MasterCard are working on a bit already, but I'm interested to hear what you're going to be working on going into 2024.
So just touching back on the three priorities.
Now, on the last one here, we get the full discussion on what's happening this year around MasterCard.
Streamlines those payments.
All right, thank you, Paul. And you've touched on what MasterCard are working on a bit already, but I'm interested to hear what you're going to be working on going into 2024.
So just touching back on the three priorities, our major focus will be interoperability from a cross-border transaction perspective, really focusing on our capability in the real-time payments area from the 13 markets we work in today to bring real-life understanding of how domestic schemes are working and bringing that seamless capability in cross-border transactions by helping with standards, rules and governance. We will also see that factoring into that interoperability, we will start to see that we need to have open access to allow these transactions to be able to be driving innovation, to reduce fraud, and using the ISO 20022 data, again, to drive that piece down. But also, with the further advancements of AI, we should see that helping us be able to drive even more capability across our platforms. And the last piece I will really talk about is the overlay services, and we just talked about it from the perspective of open access, but if I just talk about it from a fraudulent perspective, MasterCard continues to evolve in this space and continues to drive towards reducing the fraudulent capabilities that are out there and reducing that fraudulent transactions at the end benefiting our customers and the customer on the street. But also we would try to drive towards a continuous using of data to be able to provide more and more information to the scheme operators to be able to provide seamless transactions.
Fantastic.
That's what you could expect.
And this is the entire clientele of MasterCard seeing the benefits of this. Now, mind you, MasterCard has already tapped in on a lot of great companies within this space like Ripple. But again, the idea here is interoperability with standardization, with also regulations. All of this is happening on the back end. So as we really look at this, right, like this is MasterCard. Everyone knows MasterCard. These are companies that would immediately disrupt billions of lives. And guess what? They're now leveraging specific technology that allows them to achieve interoperability and enhancing cross-border transactions with, of course, ISO 20022 and even AI. Now, outside of this, do I even need to mention the fact that Quant did just recently publish their case study of Project Rosalind? This is with the Digital Pound, the BIS, all regarding APIs. When we look into this, directed by the BIS Innovation Hub, London Center, Project Rosalind was an experiment that explored the development of a retail central bank digital currency It tested how application programming interfaces could facilitate retail payments in CBDCs and support in the exploration of innovative CBDC use cases. The big thing that I'm really looking at with this is also what else it achieved outside of CBDCs. Because remember, it achieved interoperability as well with CBDCs, tapping into APIs as well. APIs, I always say on the channel, is the secret sauce. Because guess what APIs have? That's where you tap into instant payment services with RippleNet. You have API plug-and-play technology with Zinfin Network, with XDC. Everything. Hedera offers APIs. This is where you see all of those benefits of specific DLT being tapped in. But also, this is a very, very significant innovation from Quant. We could actually see the 4 main objectives: functionality, interoperability, adoption, and ecosystem. Investigate how APIs could enable a central bank ledger to interact with private sector service providers. Guys, these are those companies like Ripple that offer specific services for safe and secure retail CBDC transactions. Discover methods to achieve interoperability among various systems and applications. Analyze design options, risk, opportunities, and trade-offs involved in delivering interoperability. Adoption. Explore the API functionalities required to enable the development of a diverse and innovative set of CBDC use cases, and then gain insights into how public and private sector participants could collaborate to innovate, support digital inclusion, provide diverse payment options, and deliver good consumer outcomes. And when we really look at this, right, like the number one thing that I've always said on this channel is how crucial that public-private collaboration is. This is where you have Quant working with like the IMF, with the BIS. It's all tied together. Guys, this is all very significant to understand because this is not happening overnight. Like, we're talking about changing money. We're talking about changing the way money is moved, how networks are connected. And when I say networks, I mean the networks from the traditional world tapping into the networks of the digital world. Quant is such a blue chip in this space. A lot of people are blinded by price action in the short term just to really kind of see that. But I've never lost my confidence in Quant. And I've always said anything under $100 is a steal when it comes to Q&T. And even now, technically, for the long-term path ahead, I do think that we are still very early on what Quant is becoming. But I do think that everyone needs to understand how significant interoperability is and also how significant tokenization will be. But we won't have any of this realized in without interoperability. Interoperability is the secret sauce at the center point of all of this. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.